Hi, I'm Kim Dykstra, Director of Communications for the Town of Breckenridge. We are having this Town Council update to give you kind of the updates on what's happening at the Breckenridge Town Council. The most recent meeting we had was Tuesday, November 10th, and we'll hear all the highlights from Town Manager Tim Gagan in just a minute. If you're interested in learning more about us and figuring out what's going on with the issues and the topics, we have a number of ways that you can do that. We have monthly coffee talks with the mayor and the town manager. You can also check us out online on www.townofbreckenridge.com. We also have a Facebook page, Town of Breckenridge, and you can also follow us on Twitter. So there's many ways you can become involved and learn more about the issues that we have going on. And feel free to give us the input back that you have either by showing up at town council meetings or you can email us at Town of Breckenridge website. There's some locations there as to where you can connect with the town council as well as town staff. So we hope that you'll get involved and understand the issues that are going on in our community. And here are the highlights of the November 10th Town Council meeting from Town Manager Tim Gagan. So Tim, the November, it's that time of the year, budget process. So we've done our budget retreat. Staff came back with a number of revisions. So what are the next steps for the 2016 budget?
Well, we held our first public hearing also. So that was the first step in the approval process. We'll have one more public hearing next the 24th of November, which will be the second, the actual formal approval of the budget. At the same time, we also approved two other actions that are required by the town charter and by the county. One is the water rates. We require that they have to go by ordinance, so we also did first reading on the water rate ordinance. And that one is pegged around the new water plant, so there is an increase in water rates of 5%. Still very modest, but it is a part of that plan to build for the future building of the water plant and the debt that we'll have to issue there. And then we always do the mill levy, which is our property tax. And in this case, the property tax hasn't changed, which is always the good news. It's 5.07 mills, and it will be a continuation of the current mills. We did have an increase in assessed value, which is a good sign for the returning real estate market. So we will have a few more dollars coming in from property tax, but the basic mill stays the same. So that package of stuff is all a part of the final approval of the budget, along with what the council put into the budget as a part of the budget retreat, which occurred last month. So the public's invited. Certainly a very important document that the council works on. It really sets the groundwork for all the things that we're going to try to accomplish in 2016. And people can find that on the website? Yes, the budget is on the website, both the working document along with the changes the council made with the revisions that they did at the retreat. We did do a couple more revisions at the work session. One is related to childcare. The council continues to take a look at how that fund can be sustainable in terms of looking at the next 5 years. And then part of that discussion will obviously be the new council as to what the future of that fund will be in terms of revenue streams. So they did make some changes there. And we also made a minor change that's related to a secondary topic of safety. So we'll probably see some additional money in our capital budget related to pedestrian crossing, particularly on Airport Road. Great, and we'll touch on that topic in just a bit. Annexation is a process by which we take things that are not within our town limits and bring them into the town limits. And we had basically two annexation issues that we're working on right now. One of them related to the affordable workforce housing that we are doing in conjunction with the Summit County. Right, we've been working with the county on, actually we've done basically a swap, which is part of an original deal that we structured over the last couple of years, where the recycling center area on 450, County Road 450, just up from the 7-Eleven, all those facilities, both public works and recycling, are being relocated onto town property or have been relocated onto town property. That property, because it is a county-owned piece of property, has been in the county. But now that we're getting ready to put our workforce housing, about 26 units of affordable housing to be built next year, the county has petitioned the town to bring that into town so we can tie it onto town water. And so the first steps were taken to formally annex that into town. So that is what we call a petition voluntary annexation. The second one is a little different. Historically, and by the state legislature, if towns find that they have totally surrounded a piece of property then the towns can exercise an annexation to bring that into town at their discretion. Because the theory being that it's totally surrounded by the town, so it's receiving basically all the town services, but it's not really a part of the structure of the town. We have 2 parcels that are adjacent to each other that became surrounded about 3 years ago as a part of when we acquired what we call the claim jumper property from the Forest Service. And that's where Pinewood 2 is being built. So as a part of that, we ended up surrounding claim jumper condos, which has been sitting in the unincorporated area for a long time. We have a pre-existing agreement with claim jumper that was signed back in the 60s where they receive water. And as a part of that water agreement, it did require them that when they were legally able to annex, they should annex. The town talked to them about that 3 years ago when they were legally able to. And at that time, the HOA wasn't quite ready to exercise that. So we said, okay, we'll wait for the 3 years because the enclave annexation, the surrounded lot annexation, would bring it in anyway. And it's really not up to them. It's really a decision by the town as opposed to the property owner. The other property that's in the unincorporated area that people may not realize is a trailer park right across the street, right next to our rec center. And that's been unincorporated also for a very long time. But now with this surrounded area, it's now been surrounded by 3 years. So both those properties are eligible for annexation. And the council started the first steps to initiate bringing them also into town. So we have both the petition annexation and the surrounded lot annexation that the council will be working on in the next couple of months.
Great, that's a great explanation of that annexation, which gets a little complicated
Yeah,
sometimes.
yep.
Yes. And public projects update, we had heard from the council that we needed some bus stops out on Airport Road, maybe make it a little more safe. And so there's actually some more things about Airport Road safety. One of them is that our public projects actually put a bus stop out there.
Right, and this was a combination of a change in the dynamics that's occurring out there at the far end of Airport Road, right near where it turns into CMC. We have a bus turnaround there, but it turns out because we've located most of our marijuana establishments out in that same area, there's a large volume of people, particularly in the winter months when visitors are here, that are taking the bus out, getting off the bus, and then shopping. There's also a brewery out there, there's a distillery out there, so there's a lot of activity that was never anticipated years ago when we originally worked on Airport Road. So the council had looked at the safety concerns because it's very dark out there because we generally haven't had activity. So it was the public projects is a town effort to make sure that we have a sidewalk where people, when they get off the bus, they can stay safely off the road, lights so that people can see what's going on, and actually a crosswalk so that people can cross the road safely or more safely with lighting for all those people that are shopping out there, particularly in the evening hours where it's harder to see, or at night. So this was a combination of putting in what we call a solar light type of setup right around the bus stop area, right around the marijuana shops and the distillery. And likewise, we're also putting up some solar lights in some of our parking lots, particularly where our employee parking is going to be. So it's all part of a safety move to make sure that we can make those pedestrians as safe as possible out there.
And I know that the council talked a great deal about the pedestrian safety on Airport Road, as well as throughout town. And
Right.
there's a couple of internal task force that are working on that.
Yeah, the town has a very quaint lighting system and the Wells box that we're very famous for. But over time, the Wells box don't put out the type of light particularly related to safety on crosswalks. So they kind of light the sidewalk right where you're walking, but they really don't extend much around it. They call that the effect of how well the light covers an area. And we have a number of sidewalks and crosswalks that are very, very busy and have gotten busier. An example of one where we've had a couple of unfortunate accidents is Airport Road right across from Pinewood 1 and where the Justice Center is. We have a crosswalk there. Hopefully drivers will be very careful, but at night we have found that lighting is not the greatest, and even with the backlighting of a couple of the properties around there. So the police department, after a recent accident, have been studying that and many other areas around town, including Park Avenue by the Village, 4 O'Clock Road, where we're going to put a roundabout in. You know, there's a number of places where this lighting issue seems to be a concern in terms of pedestrian safety at night. So the council got a report at the council meeting relative to particularly the airport road location. And the suggestion is that we do need to redo lighting there, so we're going to get a better lighting expert in to help us look at that. It'll be a change from the historic look of Breckenridge, but it hopefully will be a safer. And then secondarily, we're going to put up crosswalk flashing signs where the pedestrian can actually press the button and the lighting will flash. And hopefully that'll catch the eye of the driver so that they'll slow down, wait till they're in the crosswalk, and then through it before they proceed. So it's our first step to really enhance that kind of safety that we've never really had too much problem with before, but a couple of unfortunate accidents kind of drive you to enhancing things that are be a little different than the historic look.
Yep, exactly. And the child care, we have a child care committee and a child care area, and they're working on an assistance program.
Right.
And this is really, when we've looked at it from a big global perspective, there's a certain percentage of your income that should possibly go towards childcare and housing. And so we're looking at those people it's higher for them here based on their income. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we get that an assistance program.
Yeah, and the program's been revamped a little bit. We've had it in place now for a number of years where the council has made a strong commitment because of our workforce and because many of our workforce that get into affordable housing want to raise families, and two working parents, it's kind of tough without some kind of form of childcare, and particularly childcare that's affordable related to, exactly as you indicated, a certain percentage of their income. Well, we've had that program, but when we went to the election a couple years ago to ask the voters to support an ongoing revenue stream, a very close vote, but it ended up failing. And one of the things that the council heard was the program seemed to be not tight enough, and there seemed to be potential for abuses within it. So the council asked the task force and the staff to work on tightening it up. So this was really the first report after the task force made recommendations to fine-tune the program and revamp it, and to really target it on people that really have a need. So things like asset testing. If a person has a lot of assets, you know, there's a question of whether or not they should truly be getting a scholarship for childcare. So that was one of the things. There was income limits that were revised to make them a little bit tighter and to make them more conform with the AMI where you really have a need. And in general, it's out of town, in town, because the money comes from taxpayers within the town and the visitors that come to town. The council wanted to make a differential between the out of town and in town. So that was all a part of some changes that they made. And so this was the first cycle where the people applied, they went through this new criteria, and then they were awarded scholarships or tuition accordingly. And we had a number, not a large number, but a number of people that fell out that no longer qualify, or they don't qualify for as much. So that's been the revamp of the program. So it was kind of a report to say, how did it work? Did it get the goals accomplished the council was hoping for? And with that, now the council, I think, is feeling more comfortable that our program it will withstand any criticism as being fair and really targeting people that have a great need, which is those workforce in the community that are trying to work and raise families.
Exactly, which is what it was intended for.
Exactly.
Right, great.
Yeah.
Okay, well that was the hot topics at the last town council meeting.
Yeah, as we're striking towards the end of the year.
We are striking towards the end of the year, and actually we're also striking towards the end of an era. Tim
Yes,
Gagan.
we are. Mm-hmm.
Tim will be having his final town council meeting as town manager on the 24th of November.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And will retire sometime next year. So
time flies when you're having fun.
it is. Well, thank you for 16 years for leading the town of Breckenridge.
Oh, my
Sure, we'll
pleasure.
have one more Tim and Kim show yet.